Maya, the Egyptians, the Phoenicians, the Persians, and the Siamese. Only ruins remain from these once great civilizations of our past. Although the ruins are a far cry from their former glory, they are cloaked with mysteries that have intrigued the world for hundreds of years. On today's program, we will travel from corner to corner of the earth, attempting to unravel some of the age-old mysteries of ancient civilizations. Our journey begins on La Ruta Maya, or the Mayan route. The Maya, like all Native American tribes, originated from a group of Asian nomads that crossed the Bering Strait land bridge into Alaska between 20,000 and 40,000 years ago. As their prey gradually began to diminish, these hunter-gatherers dispersed around North America in search of food. By 4000 BC, a group of hunter-gatherers had permanently settled in the Yucatan Peninsula of southern Mexico, where they began to cultivate corn. These people eventually became known as the Maya. The Mayan civilization gradually spread from southern Mexico to Guatemala, northern Belize, western Honduras, and parts of El Salvador, reaching El Salvador in 500 BC. The Maya were an extraordinary group of people. They carved magnificent cities out of the jungle without the use of metal tools, the wheel, or beasts of burden. They were among the first civilizations to discover the concept of zero, and they designed a calendar more accurate than the one we use today. And they were skilled weavers and potters who cleared trade routes through jungles and swamps to sell their wares. But how did the Maya live from day to day? Perhaps the best place to come in order to answer that question is La Joya de Seren in central El Salvador. La Joya de Seren was a rural Mayan village that was buried under an eruption of the Laguna Caldera volcano around the year AD 600. Everything in the village was beautifully preserved from the eruption, which is why La Joya de Seren is sometimes called the Pompeii of the Americas. The village was discovered in 1978 during the construction of a grain silo. Excavations of the site began in 1978, but were put on hold until 1988 due to the civil war that plagued the country. Joya de Seren is important to archaeologists because it is the only place on La Ruta Maya that shows how ordinary people lived. It was a small village of only 200 people in 12 different compounds. There were compounds for sleeping, cooking, storage, and handicrafts, as well as a community center and 2 shaman huts. No bodies have been found, meaning that the villagers escaped Joya de Seren before the eruption hit. Countless artifacts have been found, however, including furniture, clothing, jewelry, and bowls, some still with food inside. From Joya de Seren and other Mayan ruins, archaeologists have been able to deduce what a typical day was like for the villagers. The day began before dawn and ended at dusk. Men spent the day outside taking care of their crops, while women stayed indoors, taking care of their children and baking tortillas. When there was a birth in the village, the villagers would celebrate and priests would give the baby a patron god. At home, the mother would bind her infant's head with 2 wooden boards to flatten his or her forehead. She would also file the baby's teeth to sharp points, which the Maya considered to be a sign of beauty. Those who could afford it inlaid their children's teeth with jade. From La Joya de Seren, we will move on to Palenque, a lost Mayan city located in the state of Chiapas in southern Mexico. The Mayans could not have picked a more dramatic location to build their city. Palenque is situated on a high ledge surrounded by the lush green jungle of the Tumbala Mountains. The Mayans called their city La Camha, or Big Water, referring to the many cascading waterfalls that lay hidden in the rainforest. A few of these waterfalls created natural pools that travelers are welcome to swim in. Palenque is not as grand as some of the other Mayan cities of Central America. David Stewart, a researcher from Harvard University, estimated that it supported no more than 6,200 people at its peak in the 7th century. But what it lacks in size, it makes up for in quality. Palenque is one of the best preserved Mayan cities in all of La Ruta Maya. Indeed, it is so well preserved that one hesitates to call it a ruin. In Lord Packel's palace, for example, colorful paintings still hang from the walls. It is a truly enchanting place, not only for tourists, but for scientists and archaeologists as well. Upon arriving in Palenque, the first thing you'll see is the Temple of Inscriptions, the largest step pyramid of Mesoamerica. The Temple of Inscriptions receives its name from the 3 hieroglyphic stone tablets on top of the pyramid. The tablets declare that all events that ever happened in the past will repeat themselves in the future on the same calendar date. These tablets also tell the story of one of Palenque's greatest rulers, Lord Packel. Lord Packel became the king of Palenque in AD 615 when he was still just a boy of 12. He was a strong ruler, expanding Palenque's power to the west and building dozens of temples throughout his city. In the summer of 1949, Mexican archaeologist Alberto Ruz was exploring the Temple of Inscriptions when he noticed that there were circular holes in the floor. This indicated that the walls continued to go down beneath the floor into a new level. Ruz removed the stone slab that was the floor, and after 4 years of digging, he finally discovered the tomb of Lord Packel. He was buried wearing a priceless jade necklace. 6 other skeletons, who were victims of human sacrifice, accompanied him to his grave. The holes that Ruz had observed 4 years earlier were placed there so that Lord Packel's soul could float outside and watch over his people. The Mayans were ahead of their time in many respects. They were expert astronomers. They were able to correctly predict eclipses, they knew the pathway of Venus, and they designed extremely accurate ways of tracking time. They were one of the few civilizations to discover the concept of zero, and they developed a measuring system based on the number 20. The Maya were skilled architects. Even without the wheel, metal tools, or beasts of burden, they were able to design architectural wonders. They were artistically gifted as well. Mayan art is full of complex patterns and shapes, and it is said to be some of the richest of the New World. The Maya were the only civilization in the Americas to have a developed system of writing. They wrote countless books using strips of bark from the wild fig tree as paper. Only 4 of these books are still in existence today. The Maya may have been brilliant, but they were also brutal. They believed that human blood was necessary to please the gods, and as such, they performed ritual human sacrifices. The Maya preferred to use children as sacrifice victims on account of their innocence, but they used men and women as well. Sacrifice victims could be captured or purchased from neighboring villages. It was a great honor to be chosen as a sacrifice victim. In athletic events, the winners were sacrificed rather than the losers. During a typical sacrifice, the victim was stripped and painted blue before being led to a curved stone altar on top of a pyramid. 4 priests, who were also painted blue, held on to the victim's limbs. An executioner used a stone knife to stab the chest of the victim. He tore out the victim's heart and gave it to one of the priests, who smeared the idols with fresh blood. The corpse was sent to the bottom of the pyramid, where it was skinned by another priest. This priest wrapped himself in the skin and performed a solemn dance. To conclude the ceremony, spectators ate the body, and the priests smeared themselves with blood. At one point in history, the population of the Maya numbered more than 19 million. What could have happened to bring about the fall of such an illustrious civilization? It is true that the Maya never completely disappeared. Descendants of the Maya can still be found in the Mexican state of Chiapas. But by AD 800, the Maya had abandoned their impressive cities. Numerous theories have been suggested to explain the decline of the Maya, everything from a foreign invasion, to overhunting, to an alien attack. Today, there seems to be a consensus among archaeologists that the Mayan collapse happened as a result of a prolonged drought that was followed by deforestation. Across the Atlantic Ocean lies the home of another ancient civilization, that of ancient Egypt. After arriving in Cairo, Egypt's capital, we take a short trip away from the bustling city to venture on a Nile River cruise. The historian Herodotus once wrote that Egypt was the gift of the Nile. Had it not been for this great body of water, Egypt never would have existed. Farmers depended on the yearly flood, or inundation, to fill their canals with water. They used this water to cultivate their crops. New evidence from the University of Amsterdam shows that the Nile was also instrumental in building the pyramids. In order to begin work on the construction site, laborers had to drag sleds that held heavy stones, some of them weighing more than 2.5 tons. But before the laborers set off, the path that they used was slicked down with water from the Nile. This allowed the sleds to glide smoothly along the path, turning the laborers' job into a much easier task. In addition to being an important source of water, the Nile was also used as a transportation and communication system. Goods and ideas could be shipped from one end of Egypt to the other. Numerous cities sprung to life next to the Nile River, the most important of them being Memphis in northern Egypt. Memphis was founded by King Menes in 3100 BC. King Menes, like all pharaohs, was seen as both a powerful political leader and a god. Under his rule, Memphis blossomed into a giant metropolis, and it soon became the capital city. The first pyramid was built in Memphis in 2630 BC as a tomb for King Djoser. Scores of pyramids soon followed, and in 2584 BC, construction started on the Great Pyramid of Giza for King Khufu. The Great Pyramid of Giza is the oldest one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, and the only one still standing today. The next stop on our journey is Tyre, the fourth largest city in Lebanon. 1,000 years ago, Tyre was the capital of the mighty Phoenician Empire, an empire that at one time controlled the whole of the Mediterranean Sea. Before we explore Tyre, we take a day trip to visit the famed cedars of Lebanon that grow in Qadi Kadisha, the Holy Valley.